Okay, so we are here today with the beautiful Miss Arike Michelle. She is my beautiful, wonderful guest here, a community leader in the Massachusetts area. She is a compassionate purifications and restoration specialist dedicated to guiding her community on their spiritual journey. And she is going to be talking with me today about community heartbreak. We're going to be discussing this concept about community and how it has impacted us. And so the question that we're asking you today is your community helping you or hurting you? So let me tell you a little bit more about Miss Arike. She is a woman who encourages others to reaffirm their commitment to this spiritual path, reigniting the essence of true love within ourselves and our families. And she understands that healing occurs with all eight dimensions are in alignment. Arike offers a spiritually safe space for all women to reconnect with their spiritual roots and to realign their lives. And so I invited her here today because she is a community leader who has years of experience being out in the community. And she also has a very interesting story to share with us today about, her experience, being with the community, and she's going to share that interesting story with us a little bit later today. So how have you been?
I've been well. Thank you so much for having me. I am doing
Yes,
well.
great. Yeah, so I'm just going to jump right in, and I'm going to ask you a few questions about our topic today. And so we're talking about community heartbreak. And I think that, this is an interesting and important topic because I think so many people, are out here in the world and we don't even know that we are struggling with heartbreak that is related to community. It's a real thing that we have to discuss. And I like to say that self-care is for the mind and community care is for the heart. And that's part of why we're speaking about it today, because our heart needs community and our hearts are impacted by the experiences that we have in communities. And so a lot of us have this grief that is related to these community experiences and don't even know it. So I first want to start by talking about your heart joy. Okay. So, first question I would love to know is what inspired you to get started doing community work? That's the first question I want to know.
Um, Honestly, when I look back, I always was the one getting the phone calls of friends calling and wanting advice. And I remember my father saying, like, what do you think? You're a therapist or something? People always tell him, to talk to you and not really paying any attention to it. And my mentoring actually started truthfully. Um, I looked out the window one day and I seen a young girl, my neighbor. She was Latino, Hispanic,
Mhm.
and my spirit just said, "Stop paying attention to her." And I started realizing she was always sad, and she always had all these kids. And so one day, I looked out. There she was, and I went outside and I had a conversation with her, and that's what started. That was the jump start to my heart. Um,
Mhm.
Speaking to her and hearing the things that she was enduring and just trying to figure out how could I help.
Mhm.
And I've been helping ever since. I was 18 years old at that time. I just turned 56 this week on March the 7th, and I've
Mhm.
consistently have opened my heart the same way. And so
Mhm.
that's really how it started. It just started with looking outside and recognizing somebody else's pain.
Wow. Okay. That's wonderful. And see, that is something that I think I can't say that we are missing this, but I don't see that as much, you know? Like, and this is why I think that this topic, this conversation is so important because, I was on my Facebook the other day, yesterday, and I was talking about how we have forgotten how to love people, you know? Like, have you ever heard that saying that goes, we sometimes we tend to use people and love things,
Hmm.
but I want people to start loving people and using things and remembering that, our ability to walk on earth, that's like, our currency. That is what we are here to do, to connect with one another, to love one another. So
But
it's so
see,
important.
to understand our community is to
Mhm.
understand, and you have to look at the history. Now, it has nothing to do with looking back due to hatred, but it has everything to do with looking back to deal with healing.
Mm.
And there was a time in our community that I can remember where community was actually that. We did
Mm.
together. We protected each other's children. Um,
Mhm.
we had no choice. You
Mhm.
know, when I was growing up, especially out here in the suburbs, we had no choice but the Black people that were out here to form together community. But even though we were doing that in the suburbs, I could go down to the south in the springtime and the summertime vacation and see my cousins and see community as well. There was always community for us was being outside playing hopscotch, doing
Mhm.
double dutch. But now we don't have that no more. We have the technology and
Right.
all these things that we've allowed to come in kind of this Americanism, this Westernism, this American dream, has really destroyed us because
Right.
it wasn't who we are.
Right.
We're
Right.
now more like, we're so Americanized that we're actually like our ancestors' captives, and that's the truth of the matter. And we have forgotten how to love. You're
Right.
absolutely right, but it's not something that we chose to do. It was
Mhm.
something systematically given to us. So I think I explained this to you or another person last week. When you think about Africa and you think about the lions and the tigers and the bears, they're not in no zoo. They're not in a zoo, right? They are free. And if you today, you can actually go on tour and walk with the lions. Why? As long as you have a guide. So our brothers and sisters walk with lions, right? Why? Because our true culture, we are one with nature. We are one with everything, and we understand. We're not here to kill. So there's not that need for them to feel so that they have to attack us or we have
Right.
to attack them. But what happens now? The Europeans come and everybody else come. The French come and they take the animals and they say, "Oh, we got to put them in what a zoo." So they
Mhm.
come and put them in a zoo, and now what happens? Generation after generation after generation. Now the cubs now no longer know that they were free. Cubs,
Right.
after so many generations, don't understand that this is not their true habitat. They don't know that they're the king of the jungle. They don't know that they have
Mm.
authority to walk, what I'm saying, to have the freedom in the beautiful land because they're in a habitat and they think that that's what it is. And that's what's happened to us. So many
Mhm.
generations are being programmed in the
Right.
school system where it doesn't tell you nothing about who you truly are. So many years of being programmed in every single thing that we have another community now. We have another community now that looks totally different from the community that I once knew. And
Mm.
this community does not know the love. So, how will they know unless my generation comes back and says, no, this is not how we do sisterhood. No, this is not how we do this. No, this is not how we do that. And not doing it in a way that is offensive, but
Right.
doing it in a way that is actually showing love and welcoming you and saying, no, we have to move away from this fake habitat that we've been given and come back to understand who we truly are. Because when we
Right.
do that, it brings us back to our spirituality, and that's where we find true love.
Right. And
Everything else
you
aside.
made a good point about how, I think with the technology that plays a huge role in it. And I think that when we talk about community restoration,
Yeah.
technology has to be a very important discussion because that's what is disrupting it. And
Mhm.
we have to learn how to utilize technology to work for us versus working against us. Right now, it's working against us because it's separating people, and then, everything is kind of becoming transactional
Mhm.
versus us using it as a way for us to, connect in a more convenient way. But we have to be smarter about how we use technology. I think that's important. So let me ask you another question. I think that you did answer this a little bit already, but I wanted to know, when was there ever a time in your life when you did have positive, uplifting experiences, and what was the positive impact that it had on your life when you were out in the community? What were some of those positive experiences you've had, and what impact did that have on your life?
Well, again, I have that reference of growing up where my cousins were Black Panthers. I was born in 1968, the year they assassinated Dr. Martin Luther King. And my father has 8 older sisters. He's the baby. My mother is 10 years younger than my father. So I have cousins that are like first cousin, and I'm the baby of the first generation out here. And so I have cousins that are 70 something years old. So when I was just bouncing around, I seen a lot and I heard a lot. That was a whole nother era. That was the era of the language was you are my brother, my soul sister.
Mhm.
Words have power. Those were, again, times where you've seen the Black community actually coming together and doing things. You turn on the TV, you see Jesse Jackson and all of them marching, and you would see things. Um, and so I'm part of that community of order, whereas we still had our culture. We still had our culture, and our culture has always been that we reverenced our elders, that we learned at our elders' feet, right? They were the epitome of the family. We took care of our elders and we learned from them things that we were supposed to do. So I have those fond memories of being together and being at Black Family Day and singing before we left, "We Are Family," and singing uh, um, "Lean on Me If You." We'd have to be in a circle, and these were things that they embedded in us as children. Every time that we would leave from summer vacation, whatever, we had to sing those 2 songs, and then we go back because when we go back, we're going back to being myself, the only Black girl in the whole school,
Mhm.
not in
Okay.
class, the whole school. You see what I'm saying? So when I'm talking about, I'm coming from a whole another community of Black people here. And so now for myself being grown, it's the it's the ability to talk with my younger sisters. And that has always been, my just, that's what keeps me going. That's what I thrive off of, is being there because I remember. But I also remember once my mother died, that all the women in my life went away.
Mm. So why did that happen?
Because I was the black sheep of the family.
Oh, you mean they went away, like they were physically there, but they
Yeah,
just were like not
yeah,
emotionally involved. Like,
correct.
okay, so they just weren't like mothering
Yeah, I would.
you.
I was already the black sheep before my mother passed away, so she was like the only one that kind of, the woman that I had. But yeah, so after that. I was on my own. I was raising three boys, and I was in an abusive relationship after abusive relationship, raising boys on my own, trying to do all these things, and there was nobody there to guide. And so ultimately mentoring saved me. And
Mhm.
I tell people that the more girls that I began to touch in the community, making myself available every street that I was on. If I seen a young sister, I'm
Mhm.
pulling over, I'm stopping, I'm introducing myself, I'm letting her know I'm right here. If there's anything that you need, I live right there. Trust and believe when I tell you. And then every time you see me, I'm stopping, I'm talking, so we build in that trust and that relationship. And what I realized, the more that I spoke into my younger sisters, what I wanted somebody to speak into me, it
Mhm.
was what I call the boomerang effect. As I
Mhm.
seen their head go and their shoulders come back, and so would mine.
Mhm.
And I realized that is so powerful. That love right there
Right.
is so powerful that
Right.
it overcomes everything. And that's what we need, and that's what we're lacking in the community.
Right.
Very selfish,
Right.
because we are not walking in our culture. We're not walking in the
Right.
trueness of who we are. And we are walking under the guise of actually this Western stuff that was never meant for us, and we don't wear it well.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's why, you know, personally, I will say that I have been a little bit frustrated, because coming from a family where I wasn't able to get everything that I needed, I knew that an important aspect of taking care of myself and being responsible was going out into the community to
Mm,
see if I could get the things from the community that I was not able to get from my family.
yes.
And unfortunately, it was very challenging for me. I was very surprised when I went out into certain spaces and I was expecting certain things. And I was just like, okay, what's going on? Like, I really need some love here. I need some support here. I thought people were going to be a little bit more open about, supporting one another. And that wasn't necessarily what I experienced. And so I'm like, what in the world is going on? This was not at all what I expected. And so
Yeah.
that kind of brings me into the next topic that I want to speak about, which is community care.
Yes.
And this is a new term that I actually just became familiar with within the past year because, I do a lot of work with self care. I'm very good with self care.
Mhm.
There's a lot about people out here speaking about self care, but I want to just shed some light on community care and what that means. And so, we all know what self care is. It's really about taking responsibility for your life, taking care of yourself on every level. But community care, I like to say that community care, self care is for the mind, community care is for the heart, because we really have to heal, in community with other people. We cannot do everything by ourselves. And
Mhm.
I think that we need to go back to creating guidelines and standard of care for what it means to actually be in community, because people have gotten so insensitive now where it's to the point where, like, we don't even we don't feel responsible enough for people. when someone when we meet someone, we don't feel responsible for any aspect of their well-being, for any aspect of their success. And that's really what personally breaks my heart.
Yeah.
That's what breaks my heart. I'm just like, I've been as responsible as I could be, and I know other people that are responsible. But when is the community going to say, hey, this is one of our people, I want to make sure she's okay, I want to make sure she's successful? That's the community care. That's
Mhm.
going into spaces and knowing that, hey, there's other people here that want to see me win. There's other people here that are not going to be okay with knowing that when I walk away, that I'm still struggling. There's other people here that, when I come into this space, I can let my guard down and be myself and be real and get the love that I need. That's the community care. You know what I'm saying? So, what do you think about this concept of community care?
Um, to me, I agree with what you're saying.
Mhm.
We all are searching for that place where we are safe,
Mhm.
where we feel like we have finally got to that place where we are safe, where we don't have to worry. Our physical is okay, our mental is okay, our spiritual is okay, our financial is okay, our emotional is okay. Like the 8 dimensions of healing, like everything is in sync and everything is okay. So many of us want that. And a lot of us are striving for it. And I think that now more than ever, it comes down to the righteous and the unrighteous. And not to make this religious, but it is what it is. And everybody, some people don't even understand that we're at war still. Some
Right.
African Americans don't even understand that we've never really received our freedom, because
Mhm.
true freedom and the true dream would have been to govern ourselves again and have no rule. We still have rulers over us. We are still, we, everything that they do in America, let us face it, whatever God America serves is not our God, never has been. Because if you think about it, these same people and the same God and the same laws were created during the time where they didn't call us humans, right? And so unless we go and we break down every single law and everything else, they're not going to do that. They're not thinking about doing that. And so until we come out of the matrix and come out of, you know, the brainwashing and understand who we are, that is the solution. And that is the only solution, because we must come back to who we are. Because when we come back to who we are, our true culture, it connects us back spiritually. And once you're truly connected back spiritually, not this stuff that you see in the world, not all this fake pseudo spirituality that is tied in the world that we know that we see because the character does not line up. Okay. But I'm talking about those who seriously, and I'm not saying one particular sect, because if you think about it, no matter what, Christian, Jewish, Moorish, Hebrew, Muslim, Kemetic, Ifa, Orisha, it doesn't matter. All of them have a requirement. And all of the requirements are what? Taking care of children, taking care of elders, taking care of the community, taking care of your household. And so that's what I say. When you come back to your true culture and that spirit that's assigned to you brings you back to who you are, that connection of true love, you don't have time to shoot at your brother and sister anymore. But over here in the matrix, you have spirituality that is sick, and so many are still attached to it in every sect. In over here in the matrix, you have where they call sisterhood, where black women are coming together of all different ages. They're giving them money to get on TV, and they're smacking each other. They're throwing drinks in each other's face. And these are the things that our daughters and our sons are paying attention to, because it's in their face, in the music, in everything. So everything that's attached to this world is really truly bringing us and keeping us apart.
So, what do you think is the responsibility of the community? Because I think that, in certain spaces where I've been, I've seen situations where leaders within communities, and for me, it's mostly the spiritual community, but I've seen situations where leaders in the community are tired, and, situations where leaders are you know, um, overwhelmed because they're doing everything or the community is just not giving back. And it brings up this topic on personal responsibility versus community responsibility. Now, realistically, one of the reasons why sometimes this can be traumatizing for people, like being in community sometimes can be traumatizing for people, especially the leaders, is because sometimes you have people that come into space and they don't want to take personal responsibility for their life. They're just a total victim and don't want to do anything. Now, sometimes you are realistically a victim if you have trauma, but you don't always have to remain a victim if you choose to, take some level of responsibility for your well-being. And so I think some leaders have become tired and stressed out and overwhelmed by people that just come and they just take, 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 because they don't want to take personal responsibility, or they don't want to do any work to do their healing or their trauma, deal with their trauma. And they just want to show up and take, 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 take. And then it becomes a burden for people that are giving. And so I think that's, an important issue. But what do you think is the responsibility of the community?
I've been there, done it. 15 years I've been dedicated my life out here in the community, knocking on doors all over the country. And I understand we have what I call the Jerry Maguire syndrome. They don't want to, our community does not want to support you unless they see that you're winning. Show me the money. Jerry
Right.
Maguire, show me the money. Once you show that you're successful, everybody's jumping on. But it's a lot of knocking on doors. Um, it's a lot of knocking on doors. It's a lot of people out here that need to go through purifications, and that's what it just
Can
really
you
comes
explain
down
what
to.
that is?
Purifications again. That's happened to come across in just completely surrender and unlearn. Purifications, ceremonially coming together in saying and actually saying, listen, this is not right. It's not working. We keep doing the same thing over and over again. So something's not right. So the only person that I know I have 100% control over right now is me. So me, I'm going to surrender. And I'm going to look up and I'm going to say, listen, I need your help. And I need you. I don't know nothing. I need you to show me. And through that purifications, that's pushing your plate back. That's making sure that you're watching your eye gate and your ear gate. That's making sure that you're not putting the sickness and disease in your body, that is coming to a complete surrender of rebirthing, and just with the desire to say, it's not right. And so I need to get it right. And everybody needs to kind of do that. And when you do that, because my responsibility is not the whole community on my back. I've carried it for 38 years and it left me with nothing. A lot of girls, but as far as financially, I've never been funded. I've done it all out of my pocket, because no matter what I've said for the last 3 decades, that our daughters are in trouble because I didn't have a platform. Nobody wanted to listen. But now I'm looking at saying, I told y'all, I've been telling y'all we're going in the wrong direction with things. They're being influenced. And now I look, and every other month, it seems like a little black girl's killing another little black girl. They just killed another little set of black girls, killed another little set of black girls. What is going on? What happened to sisterhood? What happened to, my sister's keeper? What happened to, sis, call me when you get home? What happened when we go out together, we're staying together? What happened to, the real true bond of sisterhood? It's distorted. It's
Yeah,
distorted.
I think those are traditions that have to be taught. And that's one of, I think that is a really good solution for bringing
Well,
community back,
the thing
because
is,
people do have to be taught.
when you take the family and you disassemble the family, right? You take the father out, all the stuff that they know that they have done to us as a people. The one thing that we have not had the opportunity to do in this country yet, since I've been alive, is just to sit and heal, to be able to come back together, talk about things, and sit and heal. Because whenever it seems that we come together, somebody gets nervous about it and has to now degrade or do all this crazy stuff. And it's it's just so much, but it really boils down to us coming back to who we are. And everything else is a band-aid as far as I'm concerned. You can't start in the middle of the book. And then when you think about the majority of all of the psychology, all of these places that we're going, all the hospitals, like all these things that we're going, Does that really pertain to us when there's written off of 40-year-old white men? Just psychology and all these other things. It's still their way of thinking. It's still all of that. So you're going and you're still learning, but you're learning how to talk to your people through their lens. And you wonder why true healing is not coming, because we have our own culture. And that's what they have separated us. They've separated the man, and now they separated the elders. So that's why your generation knows nothing, because there's no bridge there. There's no protection there. And that's why y'all doing the same stuff that we already did. It's still getting beat up by the police and everything else, because we're not there anymore. We're not there.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So, what do you think are some components of a healthy community? Well, for people that really want to be in spaces that, allow them to get the things that they need, what would you say are some components of a healthy community?
Number one, we need elders that know who they really are. Number one, we need elders that understand who we are. And then we need those elders to go back into the community and teach. We need those elders to go back into the community and work together, open companies, buy land, do the things that we need to do, and invite y'all to come with us and to do the things that we know need to be done. Because pretty soon, guess what? We're going to be gone. My dad's generation, my dad's the only one left. He's 86 years old, be 87 in a couple of weeks. All this, they're all gone. So that means we're now, my generation is moving up now to the elders. And once that wisdom's gone, you know what? They think Nicki Minaj and all this other stuff, that's womanhood now. You got some of these babies that have never seen what I've seen in womanhood, Black womanhood. They've never seen it, because every damn show, every movie, all the music shows nothing but grown women in their 30s fighting and throwing stuff in each other's face. And now you wonder why we have our babies out here in high school killing each other now. So it is imperative that we that still know, that have tapped back into our culture, get together, stop fighting over foolishness, and get together and act and implement. Because once we're gone, who's going to teach the truth?
Right.
Who's going to
Okay,
teach?
so the elders need to go out, and then what else would you say?
We need a truce amongst our spiritual leaders. We need a truce amongst our spiritual leaders.
What do you
While they're
mean?
spending all their time on YouTube debating each other, we need a truce amongst our spiritual leaders. And I want them to remember something. I want them to all go back and look back in the 50s and 60s when we were segregated and we all lived together. Remember, Martin was a Baptist, and on the other corner was Malcolm, who was Muslim, and everything in between. And we all lived together. And that was the time when we were able to build Black Wall Street. Those were the times we were able to thrive, because we were living all together in the same general area. And so for them to say, I can't live with you, or I can't purchase land with you because you don't believe like I believe, that's a part of what's keeping us in captivity. Instead of saying the bottom line is the righteous are the righteous. Let me say, so with those who practice Christianity, follow Jesus, right? And so they practice love, compassion, forgiveness, including taking care of the children, taking care of the elders, and in being good people in general in society. Well, if you look at the Moorish people, well, guess what? It's the same thing. They also believe in taking care of the household. And so what I'm saying is, when you look at the similarities of what it requires, We have more in common. And if we could get back to that, instead of fighting with each other and actually start now utilizing one another's strengths, where for example, the Moors, we know they know all the laws. How come they're not teaching the rest of the brothers so that when they get pulled over that they're well versed, right? We know that the Muslim brothers, they really good at you know, organizing and coming together and doing things. And so, how come we're not all coming together so that we can actually say, this is the things that we need to do because we're fighting? So, the elders need to come back, the leaders, because if those spiritual leaders said, this is what we're doing, everybody that follows them would fall in line without question.
Yeah. I would also add that, I do think it's important that, we're going into spaces where we are able to get our needs met, because I mean that's one of the primary purposes of being in community. It's like if you cannot show up and be able to get the things that you need, then is it really a community? Because you need to be in a space where that people have your back, where that people support you, people want to see you win, people have your best interest at heart. And that's important. And I do think I want to see more people that are have enough courage to be vulnerable, because I've seen, like for example, on social media, a few of my peers, when they were launching, doing different things, launching businesses and, things of that nature, they had to shut them down because they were like, the community didn't support me, stuff like that. And I mean, it goes back to what you were saying about how no one wants to show up until you are
Successful.
successful. But I think that we have to keep pushing and reminding people to get out of that mentality. We need to keep reminding people and pushing people to support people, when they're on the ground level, so that when
Let
they
me
get there they can help everybody.
let me ask you, if we were to actually go back to our culture and actually work together and purchase land, create our own township, create our own city. People do it all the time, right? People do it all the time. When I lived in Sacramento, it was Sacramento. Now it's Sacramento, Elk Grove, Rancho Cordova, and all these other little pieces of it, because people say, hey, we don't want to follow what you guys are doing. And they file the paperwork and they become their own township. And then within their own township, what do you get? You get your own sheriffs, you get your own hospitals, you get your own all the things, right? And you get to come to the table as yourself. What's stopping us from doing that? I'm not even have to go outside of America, even though that there is an exodus happening right now. Okay. But we could even start there. But again, it's not going to be the multitude. Right now, we're in a place now where our community is so far gone that it's almost as if I feel like, the spiritual realm is calling on those who are righteous and preparing us to exit, to, like that's just how I feel like right now. And I'm watching it happen. I'm watching people that I personally know packing up and leaving. I'm watching people, from other, sects saying, listen, I don't care no more about all that. Let's build. Rizza Islam is one of them, right now. I don't care about any of it. Let's build, because if we do that, then do we really need the dollar the way that we need the dollar here? No, we can go back to bartering. We can go back to where we're not working all day long just to hand our money over to somebody else and struggling and not seeing our children and not being able to nourish our children and not having the things that were actually put on this planet for us to have. Why are we paying for water? Why are we paying for food?
Yeah,
So
I do
when we
think.
go back to ourselves, it takes all of that type of stuff away, and we can go back to actually being happy because we're not stressed the hell out because we got to run to that 9 to 5 to make sure that these other people can go on vacation and their kids can have cars and everything else while our kids are riding the bus and struggling and committing suicide and dealing with the police and all
Yeah.
these things.
I think that, that just requires, a leader to step up and organize it and stick with it. But I think before we do those types of things, we still have to deal with the simpler issues that are going on in people's lives. People have everyday challenges that they're dealing with that could easily be solved by them simply just being amongst a group of people that they can share things with. So, yeah, I do think that there's levels, that there are levels to being in community. So, I also would like to know, let's just talk briefly about your experience, the experience that you had a few months ago, and how that impacted you, and I would love to know, how you were feeling when people started showing up for you to support you during your hospitalization.
Yeah, back September 29th, a friend's son decided he wanted to kill his mother, and I was there. I was collateral damage. He knew he couldn't do it in front of me, so he decided to put 3 bullets in me first. I literally lost everything overnight. I'm a consultant. I had 15 years. I faith walker, 15 years, traveled the country, finally got home to my hometown, didn't have to pay anything, was in the family house. I had contracts coming in left and right. I'd finally like, yes, I've made it. I mean, everything was just, and then I went to visit a friend and I woke up in the ICU 4 days later
Wow.
and didn't know what happened to me for the longest. And it was, I woke up, I was like 300 pounds. My arms were like this big. It was crazy. It was like I had elephantitis or something. I was so swollen. I didn't recognize my body. I didn't know what happened. As far as I knew, I died, and uh, that experience itself of seeing different gods and finally getting to my ancestors. It was like I was floating. I was like, is that Buddha? is that so and so? What is going on? I'm like, what is going on? Just I remember thinking, am I going to hell? Like, and how could I possibly be going to hell? Like, it was like all this crazy stuff. And then I got to my ancestors, and all that craziness is kind of, and I was just at peace, and they were dancing around my bed and they put me in clay and stuff. And during this time, what I did not know is that the doctors were pretty much telling my kids to get ready to say goodbye to me, and they were in shock that I came back. And so it was during that time that I was with the ancestors. And so now when I'm coming, I'm back. And it took, I don't know, days before I kind of really figured people were coming. I was on so many drugs. I was on so much drugs. You know,
Yeah.
so
So, how did you feel when people started supporting you?
when I finally could understand that people were there and everything, it's amazing. It's I felt like finally, to tell you the truth, kind of, like it shouldn't have taken this, but this is what community is. You know, those that came strong. Those that came strong, and they came with so much love. In the organization that I was, uh, and ironically, I was home because I just won a contract with Keeping Black Survivors Alive, through the Massachusetts Women of Color Network. And what it was, we were writing the toolkit, Keeping Black Survivors Alive, because we found out in Massachusetts, Black women are dying at a ridiculously high rate due to intimate partner, domestic violence, and sexual assault. So they just got all this money to put this toolkit together and do this research. And I was hired to uh, do the leaders and interview the leaders. In October 5th was my presentation. September 29th is when I got shot. So I never even got the opportunity to do that. But through that, those women put together a fundraiser for me in less than 2 months that had 400 people there. And it was the most dynamic thing. And when I got in the room, it was nothing but pure love. 400 people that I didn't know, 400 strangers. And even my father and my kids was like, you could, they love you, mom. My dad's like, these people, these will, and I said, yes, I know. And that's what we all need, but it shouldn't have to take always a tragedy for us to come together. But I'm so thankful for them. And it replenished me because I was depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went to my fundraiser, it replenished me. And it made me know that I am loved and what I've done is not in vain and I still have work to do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I was definitely happy to see because I was watching you on through Facebook and seeing your updates and everything, and I was just like, wow, this is wonderful, beautiful that people are definitely coming together, and so it's like we could do that for so many different things, and we definitely have the power to do that. So, well, thank you so much,
Thank
Miss
you.
Arike Michelle, for your wonderful insight and your wisdom on this particular topic. I definitely enjoyed interviewing you and chatting with you today, and I really just want people to be encouraged and to really consider the importance of being in community, because I think for a lot of Black people it can be traumatizing for many different reasons. There can be so many different reasons why it can be traumatizing, but ultimately I think when you find a space where you have like-minded people that have similar interests, that really share your values, I think that you know there's still hope for us, because I think for us we really just need to be willing to learn some new ways of being in relationship, because that's ultimately what it's about. I heard Queen Afua talking about this. I was listening to an interview that she did, and actually, I was listening to two interviews that she did. And in each interview, they were asking her about, why do you think, there's so many issues with women and wombs, and why do you think there's so many issues with these things? And her response for all of those things was, we need rites of passages. We have lost rites of passages, and people have forgotten how to be in community. So that's why I was really speaking a lot about how it's important for us to really learn how to be in relationship again, how to create mutually beneficial relationships, how to resolve conflicts, how to, love people versus using people. And I think if we could really focus on that, we all can create spaces that work for our benefits, because we all need things. So I
Yeah,
pray that we,
the rites of passage is the same as purifications. It's going through that process. And that's why I was saying that no matter if it's comedic or whatever, it's a process. You have to go through the process. And that's what it is, taking responsibility for self. Once we do that, and you really, that's such a personal thing. And that's why I don't teach or to tell somebody where to go study. But what we do is, how do you open your ear to hear? How do you purify yourself so that you can be in the position totally cleaned out, like seriously, so that you can hear from whoever your guide is. And that's what it is. We're disconnected from our spiritual guide. We are so, our antennas listening to everybody else, doing everybody else and following everybody else. And it comes back down to self awareness, self mastery, because once you do that, again, now you have a different lens and you're ready to come and you're ready to do things within the community. And so, that's just what it is. I really believe that it comes down to um, getting back connected to true love, because we are surrounded by pseudo love that people think is real. And until you know true love yourself, all you can give out is pseudo love. And that's the problem.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. You have to have that within yourself to be able to share that with other people. So yeah, I think it's all a learning experience, but it
Yeah.
can be done. I think if we can have more open conversations with leadership, that definitely can, make it easier for all of us. So
Yeah.
absolutely. So if people want to stay in contact with you, let me see here. I have this slide here. All right. So if people would like to stay, if you'd like to stay in contact with Miss Enrique Michelle, she can be contacted at, is this the correct email for you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. L A M. Oh, I am Enrique Michelle at gmail.com. Her Facebook is Michelle Rodnax. All right. And you want to tell us quickly again what it is that you offer to the community?
Yeah, I'm a purification and restoration specialist, which means I really walk you through purifications. I do not teach any type of scriptures or anything like that anymore, but I teach on how to actually reconnect, how to go back in court and let your spiritual guide court you. And in order to do that, we are purifying. I'm going to teach you to push your plate back, and you're going to eat fruits and vegetables and real live stuff for like 60 days. And, you know, it's just, it's a beautiful community. And the young ladies that have been with me for some 20 years, some with me 15 years, so it's not a program where you come, pay money and leave. No, like we're building community. And then I interconnect all the young ladies so that they can support one another. And I watch them on Facebook all over the country supporting each other, and I love it.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. All
It's
right.
the town of Summer. This is a little fraction of what I do, but we'd be here all day.
Okay, all right.
But
Right.
that's what my heart is, really connecting for sisters and taking them on that journey and showing them how to be courted by true love.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. All right. So yes, I'll be catching up with you soon. You guys know me. I'm Najia. You can find me on Instagram at Najia Inspires. My website is NajiaInspires.com. And I have a movement on healthy relationships. So I'm really all about helping people to navigate their emotions so they can heal their heart, become emotionally resilient, and find their next best relationships because it's so incredibly important for us to establish healthy relationships. So we are going to end this today just by sharing love with everyone, and I pray that everyone was able to receive a little bit of insight on this today. So, Miss Enrique, thank you so much again for sharing space with me today. I enjoyed your beautiful energy, and I will catch up with you soon.
Thank you for having me. From my heart to yours. See y'all later.
Okay, bye.